to Cyber Studies. If this is your first time here, my name is Giovanni. Thank you so much for watching. Today is episode 8 of our PowerShell playlist. We're going to cover functions, parameters, and scopes. So without further delay, let's get in there. All right, folks, so what we're going to do tonight is going to be a little bit more fun, and that separates the scripters from the users. Now, what we have here, we're working out of PowerShell ISE, and I have everything saved to my desktop environment inside of my lab. But what we're going to do here is we're going to run a very simple commandlet that we had used in our previous episodes to demonstrate the get process, where we're going to have all of our processes running on our environment post startup. So this is a couple pages of process information here, and we can actually do a little bit more, a little bit higher fidelity product by simply going through and just taking the objects from that get process commandlet and then passing it through where we have objects that have the .cpu property, and if it is greater than 100, then it's going to spit out just those processes. And then we go through, we do a sort object of the CPUs in a descending order. So what we see right here is if we do that, it is a significantly easier, higher fidelity product compared to something up here where you get a gajillion SVC hosts and a bunch of other things on there. So this is where we can kind of see some scripting already working for us, making our products a little bit nicer. But what if we wanted to take that a step further? So in this instance, I'm showing you a quick example of what if we took all of that scripting that we just had and made it into a very convenient package, or a function in this case. So in this instance, we're going to take all that script that we had and we're going to encapsulate it into a function. Now, a function is going to act kind of like a built-in commandlet in an environment already, so that we've created and we can then act upon a little bit later. So in this instance here, I'm going to go ahead and fire this off. And you'll see nothing really happened yet because we haven't called upon our new function. So we're going to go through here. We do high CPU process. It's actually going to produce the exact same thing that we just ran above because it is the exact same thing. We took the same script that we created before and we just added it inside of our get high CPU process function. Now, one thing I do want to cover just very briefly, we won't go too deep into the weeds here, is when we're getting into our functions, we will sometimes have instances where we have variables included inside of our function. Now, it's important to understand that with scope is kind of like a scope of work, scope of responsibility. You have variables inside of your function. They don't exist outside of that function. They actually stay internal to that. Think of your function as kind of like a little contained environment where things are inside of it stay right there. So in this instance, I'm not going to run through it, but you'll see here that we do have some variables that are tucked into our function. You just won't be able to find them or act upon them in your grand scheme PowerShell here, unless you turn them into global variables. If you go through, and I believe it's as simple as just adding like global colon and then your variables there, you could be able to do something like that. Just know it's not best practice. You want to keep everything nice and tidy inside of the function, so that way it stays right there. It's nice and compartmentalized. So moving on here, we have our actual script that we were working with on our get process. Let's close out this one real quick. So we have our function of get the high CPU processes on our machine. Everything here works fine, but what if we wanted to introduce some variability to this? We wanted to say, hey, instead of having just this, if the value is at 100%, or I'm sorry, a value of 100, if it was greater than that, what if we wanted to have some flexibility and change things up? So in this example here, we're going to be working with parameters. Now with parameters, this is really cool because by simply just adding the parameter feature here, and then changing out the fixed number that we had before where it was just greater than 100, we've then changed it to the variable of that CPU threshold. So we've created our threshold through the integer under the parameter here. So by adding those little pieces into our script, what this will allow us to do, and let's go ahead and just clear this out really quick. So what we should see here is if we fire this off, same thing, nothing happens. We would say our get high CPU. So if we fire this off as it is, we were introduced with just everything. This is our get process with no, parameters, no thresholds, no functions, what have you. This is just the get process piece right here. So if we were to run it again and say if we want to introduce a parameter, we actually now have that variable that we created, our integer variable called CPU threshold. So what we have right here is we can say, hey, 100, as we did before, we have that exact same thing. But if we want to do it again, let's say we're going to introduce 500. We now have a smaller set we can work with here. You can actually see a little bit of functionality here. Let's add 20 more output there. What we're seeing here is we now have something we can actually interact with by adding that parameter and then changing the values to it. Now, a pro tip is we can actually go through here and make this a little bit better of a function by adding a default value. So we actually say, hey, the CPU threshold integer is going to start at 100, and then we're actually able to go through with that variability, that parameter, and change it down here. So if we'll see, we're going to save that, launch it really quick. We do our get, and then we fire it. It's going to start at that 100 and above for CPU. And then if we wanted to add that CPU threshold of, say, 20, we can then still do that. So we can then open it up if we wanted to, otherwise it defaults at 100. Now, the last part we're going to add to our function demo here for tonight is going to be switch parameters. Now, very similar to the setup that we have right here, but what we're going to allow us to do is we're going to add some functionality on the fly. We don't have to always have this very elaborate setup with all this crazy output. We're actually able to go through and adjust it to our wants. So by going through here and deleting this, essentially what I've added is I've added this switch data type right here, and we've titled that as detailed. And then we then added a if-else statement right here that allows us to add that functionality. Otherwise, the rest of it is pretty similar to what we had before. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna see the same exact activity. We're gonna launch it up here. Let's actually clear that out really quick. So we have our, excuse me, our get high CPU. So let's go ahead and launch that. High CPU process, and we're going to fire it as is. So this is what it now looks like. It's kind of like a stripped down version. Anything that's that 100 and above, it's just going to spit out our items of interest. Now, if we want to launch the same thing, we now have the option to either to toggle between the CPU threshold if we wanted to change that, but we can also now do the detailed view. So by doing this, it's the same exact thing. We're not changing the actual CPU threshold. It's maintaining that. We're just now getting more information. So it allows us to say, hey, this is all I want. However, if you want to add more stuff to it, if you're doing a log parser, you can have it look for different types of logs. However you write your function, by having these switch parameters, it allows a lot more functionality. It makes it look way cooler, but this is where a lot of the fun comes in, and basically you're limited by your imagination. Now, for making it as far as you have in this video, I wanted to make a little bonus example. Now, this one isn't anything crazy, but what's cool about this one, it kind of shows a little bit more of how this could be relevant to cybersecurity. So in this instance, I'm going to close this one up really quick here, and we're going to open up this example. All we're looking at here is a function called get failed logins. And as the name would allude, we're going to have a count type of integer of 10. So we're going to our top 10 items. And we're doing a when event commandlet. We're going to get those items. We're going to filter those down. We're looking at specific security log types of log names right here. And then in this instance, we're looking at the ID of 4625, which is going to be your failed login. Now with this, we do have similar as we were looking at before. But what this is going to allow us to do is if we wanted to build upon this, there we go. We're allowed to see in our logs what the time was when it was created, the ID itself, and then there's a brief message off the top. And you can see where if you were to add these switch parameters or add parameters in general, you can actually go through and see what type of logs you were looking for. You can change the type of log names you were looking at. There's a lot of versatility to this. It's kind of more of a cybersecurity oriented example. Just know that, again, your creativity is going to be the thing that limits you here, and you can kind of run off into a wild tangent if you so desire. So at this point, we've created a bunch of chunks of code. With these functions, they do the things that we want them to do, but they're kind of independent pieces of a bigger script. Now, we could technically go through and copy and paste this, pass it over to folks through Teams or what have you. It could work that way. However, there's a way more efficient way of doing this. So we're currently working out of something that's called a .ps1, our PowerShell script. And all we have to do is just go into File, Save As, and we can actually change this into a PowerShell module. Now, a module is, just think of it as like a big amalgamation of our scripts, our functions, our what have yous, and it's in a nice packaged thing. Now, if we want to actually go through and utilize this, we would say, hey, here's our PowerShell module for episode 8 demo. So we can go through and say, we're going to import module. In this case, we're going to function off of our relative path. We're going to say desktop, and then we're going to say episode PS1M. So by doing this right here, we're actually going to fire that off. We've now imported that into this session, this instance. When we actually restart our computer, this will no longer be present unless we do an install tac module. So in this case, we're importing it into this session. It does not have persistence. So if we wanted to have that staying in there, we could just do an install, but in this case, we do import. And then all we're going to do, just to kind of double check our stuff, is we're going to do, oh my goodness, our import that module, and then we're going to look for, what is that? And we'll see here that we have our get failed logins functions. So it shows it all in there, and then we can then act upon those as if we were in the script itself. It's a way easier, way more efficient, just the right way of doing things. All right, folks, in the next episode, we're going to be covering topics to include registries, services, and events. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and have a good one.